Right now at noon, restrictions go into place as the city of Caney, Kansas undergoes a severe water shortage.
We do have some water on the radar right now, a few scattered showers across the area. I'll let you know what that means in your forecast, as well as a peek at the weekend.
And it's National Suicide Prevention Month, and the Ozark Center shares warning signs you can look for in your loved ones.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining the KOAM News at Noon. I'm Amber Jenkins. Today's top story: a man is now arrested in a homicide investigation out of Labette County. According to the Labette County Sheriff's Office, 53-year-old Derek Curry of Parsons is charged with second-degree murder and interference with the judicial process. Investigators accuse him of killing 28-year-old Callie Caldwell. Caldwell's body was found Sunday near 20,000 and Ness Road. According to investigators, Curry and Caldwell knew each other. Curry is being held in the Labette County Jail. A man in a wheelchair was fatally struck on I-44 by a trailer tractor. The Joplin police received a call that there was an adult male in a wheelchair on I-44 and Rangeline Road. The caller advised he almost hit the individual as he was traveling down I-44. Officers were dispatched to check on the pedestrian. However, the individual was struck by a passing semi-truck before the officers arrived. After arriving at the crash scene, officers and the EMS personnel attempted life-saving measures, but the pedestrian died from injuries sustained from the collision. The pedestrian has been identified as Andrew L. Garrett, age 56, of Joplin. Next of kin has been notified. The Joplin Police major crash team assembled within the next 90 minutes at the crash scene, and the driving lane remained closed as the passing lane remained open for traffic to pass by slowly. The community of Caney, Kansas is still facing a severe water shortage. In the last 2 months, the city has been in a stage 3 emergency, representing the most critical level on the severity scale. As a result, residents are still restricted to using water only for essential activities. Car washes, pools, and other non-essential activities are remain closed. The city plan was to treat the pool water and send it to the water reservoir for use by the residents, but they didn't proceed with the idea.
That was chlorinated water that, we'd have to dechlorinate it and then probably treat it, run it through the treatment plant again. So there really wasn't any way to release it into the pool itself, or the water pool that we draw from itself. But that's just a protocol.
First time this came out, there was definitely some tough transition, but since we've been through it, we know what we need to do, and what we've realized is that it takes all of us doing our part, and so that's the key thing that we try to focus on, is that we're in this all together.
Caney schools are also taking measures to support the cause. Besides using disposable utensils when possible, they are watering the football field only enough to keep it safe for the players. The Carthage City Council granted the Carthage Water and Electric Plant board members the same protections as city officials. If a board member is requested to resign, they have the right to a hearing and a written cause just like a city official. Along with the protections, the mayor is appointing 2 new members to the board. However, some community members question motives.
And now this happened and makes you wonder what their real motive is. I think there are some other motives. There may be a couple of people who have a vendetta of some kind against CWNEP.
It provides them a little additional protection than they have now, and hopefully would give a little peace of mind that they've got right to a hearing.
The protections were approved by a vote of 8-2. The next council meeting, the council and the CWEP will agree to a date and time to hold a public discussion and explain to the community what's been going on between them. We are still following this story.
We have a few showers on radar right now, especially up to the north and east in the Nevada area, Barton County on over towards Dade and Cedar County. Also some up in near Eureka, up in Greenwood County. Zooming in on that activity, you can see just a few sprinkles south of Nevada. A little bit more showers just south of El Dorado Springs over towards Stockton Lake and also in and around the Greenfield area. This evening, we're going to see temperatures dropping through the 80s into the 70s, and by about tomorrow morning, we'll see a low of around 63 degrees, and if you're suffering from allergies, here's why. 6.2 on the scale. Tomorrow, a little bit better at 5.9, most of that ragweed, chenopod, and sagebrush. And looking down the lane, we're going to have a wonderful Wednesday, and then a sunny weekend with above normal temperatures all through the forecast period, with some storms possible coming back into our forecast as we go into Wednesday and Friday of next week. And of course, I'll detail all that coming up in weather in just a little bit.
September is National Suicide Prevention Month, so we spoke with the Assistant Director of the Crisis Services at the Ozark Center, Stephen McCullough, about warning signs you can look for in loved ones. He says a big one is when they withdraw from their usual activities. He also says the best way to prevent suicide is to connect and talk about it.
The best way to prevent it is to talk about it. Because then when we talk about it, we can get a lot of those misunderstandings out in the open. We can make sure we get them connected to people who can help them and get them further care.
If you're experiencing any suicidal thoughts, there is a national hotline that may be able to help. That number is 988. The remains of a World War II soldier that's been a Japanese prisoner of war will soon be laid to rest in Jay, Oklahoma. Army Private First Class and POW Lex Lee Leonard will be laid to rest on October 7 at McQuad Family Cemetery. PFC Leonard was one of the many POWs subjected to the 65-mile Bataan Death March. His remains were identified using circumstantial evidence as well as DNA analysis. PFC Leonard died in July of 1942. He was only 20 years old. Students at McDonald County High School have begun the process of building a fully functional tiny home. As a part of their construction trades program, students are taking on every aspect of building a home, including carpentry, plumbing, and electrical work. Through this experience, some students have been inspired to put their practical skills to use after school.
They're not going to leave here a master carpenter or a plumber or electrician, but they're going to have knowledge that they can take out into a workforce and, make a good living.
This tiny home is set to be finished by the end of the school year and sold at auction. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in your first 7 minutes. Next up on the KOAM News at Noon. Up next is the Hollywood is still on strike. And later, we're making 1-minute cinnamon buns in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. A major win for Hollywood writers overnight. The Writers Guild of America approved the contract agreement with the organization representing major studios, ending at least part of the Hollywood summer of strikes. CBS News' Jared Hill is in New York with the details of the deal.
After nearly 5 months, Hollywood writers can once again pick up the pen. The strike declared over Tuesday night after board members for the Writers Guild of America approved a contract agreement with the studios.
We got so much of what we wanted, it's overwhelming.
The 3-year deal includes better upfront pay and an agreement on residual compensation based on the popularity of a streaming show. On artificial intelligence, AI can't write or rewrite scripts, nor can it create source material. Their language for novels or video games that writers adapt into scripts. Another win for the Guild, required staff minimums.
The idea that there would be some protection to make sure that writing staffs continue to be robust, that there's some sort of guidelines to protect some of these jobs. That's a big win for the Writers Guild.
Late night talk shows, the first to go dark, could be the first to return. Meanwhile, actors who've swapped the screen for the sidewalk continue to search for their own Hollywood ending.
Knowing that at least one of us has gotten a good deal gives a lot of hope that we will also get a good deal as well.
The writers still have to vote to ratify the contract early next month, but they can work during that process. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
The WGA agreement will last through May of 2026. Meanwhile, overnight, SGA-AFTRA, which represents striking actors, told its members that there's no confirmed date scheduled to meet with the studios. Well, still to come on KOAM News at Noon, Mr. Food.
If you can resist the 1-minute cinnamon bun that's coming up next, then you've got a lot of willpower.
We have a few isolated showers out on radar. We'll show you that, as well as a look at the weekend forecast when we come back. It's been feeling more like summer out there instead of fall, although we've officially started fall. It's not going to feel that way for quite some time. Let's take a look outside right now at Seneca, Missouri. You can see mostly fair skies, lots of blue sky, just a few clouds off in the distance, but definitely some warm temperatures. Right now, we're looking up to the north on our range line cam. You can see those scattered showers way off in the distance, mainly up towards the north, but we're 81 degrees right now with a west wind, and it feels like 82 out there because the dew point 61 gives us about halfway saturated on the humidity, and the visibility is at 10 miles. We do have a few scattered showers stretching from south central Missouri right through the I-44 corridor, right up into the northern sections of our viewing area up near Nevada. Also some thunder showers just south of Emporia. Zooming in on that activity, you can see a few lightning strikes there just to the south and west of Burlington. Off to the east and northeast of Joplin, you can see just a few showers. No thunderstorms as of yet, but as we go through the afternoon, some of the heating will start to cause these showers start to turn into some thunderstorms. We are expecting a low chance of showers and storms today, again, mainly up towards the north, and then basically a zero chance as we go through the next 36 hours. Temperatures right now are not that bad, generally in the upper 70s up to the north, where the clouds are a little bit thicker, and those showers up there, 78 in Iola, same thing in Fort Scott, as well as Nevada. Then you start getting into the low 80s down in Oklahoma with 82 in Nowata and 83 for our friends down in Grove and 82 in Veneta. Dew points, they're in the upper 50s to around 60 degrees, so there is some moisture out there. 60 right now in Commerce, 59 in Pittsburgh, a little bit drier up at Yates Center where they're 58 and 56 over in Neodesha. Now when you factor in the dew point and the temperature, this is what it's going to feel like tomorrow. We're going to feel like it's in the upper 80s to lower 90s, especially in southeastern Kansas. More like summer out there. And then as we go into Friday, it even starts to feel warmer across the area as the moisture increases a little bit, especially for our friends in southeastern Kansas. Looking at the upper airflow, we have a low pressure center over Illinois. That's what's causing the weakness and these showers in our area. But as this moves away, we're going to start to see the ridge of high pressure really start to build in, creating what we call an omega block, because it looks like the Greek letter omega, with a ridge in the middle, a trough on the west coast, and a trough on the east coast. This trough on the west coast is eventually going to make its way towards us, but it's going to take its slow, sweet time in getting here. Won't be really impacting us until about Wednesday of next week. Temperatures this afternoon are going to be in the upper 80s. You can see a few scattered showers, again, mainly up to the north, even some low 90s out to the west. And then as we go through tonight, we're going to see temperatures dropping down into the upper 60s, and some 50s as well sprinkled in. And then as we go into Thursday afternoon, quite toasty with temperatures in the upper 80s, once again low 90s, not that far away in southeastern Kansas and northeast Oklahoma. Then as we go into Friday morning, south winds bringing up moisture with temperatures in the mid to 60s across the area with partly cloudy skies. And over the next 7 days, it's going to be hot, especially tomorrow and Friday, and then still remaining warm as we go into the weekend with partly cloudy conditions. And then as we go into Monday and Tuesday, we're going to see temperatures in the mid 80s, which is still very warm for this time of year. And then as we head into Wednesday, that's when the chance of showers and thunderstorms comes back into our forecast with a high of 82. Then a little bit of a break on Thursday with a high of 79. And then another round of storms possible on Friday with 40% coverage of storms on Friday afternoon and evening, and then lows will start to drop back down into the 50s. So it's more summer-like instead of fall for the next several days.
Yeah, I thought next month was October, but it's seeming like next month is like July 2.0.
Yeah, exactly. July 2.0, that's a good way of putting it.
Thank you, Sam. And stick around, we're making 1-minute cinnamon buns in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. We'll be right back. Well, today my diet is being tested because Howard is making 1-minute cinnamon buns in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
There's nothing like freshly baked cinnamon buns slathered with icing. You got to admit, they're pretty hard to resist. But when you make them, there's a couple of challenges. Most times they take way too long, so they're not weekday friendly. And secondly, if you make a whole batch, you end up eating a whole batch. That's why we came up with an easy single-serve version that's done in about a minute, and it's just as satisfying. All we do is mix a couple of tablespoons of applesauce, a bit of vegetable oil, a little milk, and some vanilla, along with some flour, brown sugar, cinnamon, baking powder, and a pinch of salt. Once that's mixed, we pour it into one of our favorite microwavable coffee mugs, except we leave about 1 tablespoon of the batter in the bowl. Into that, we stir in a bit more cinnamon and swirl it into the mug to give it that classic cinnamon bun spiral look. Then microwave it for about a minute. Let me tell you from experience, it will seem like the longest minute in history. Once this comes out, we flip it onto a plate. Careful, it's gonna be hot. Then we slather it with our 3-ingredient homemade cream cheese frosting. I bet you can't wait to go online so you can get the recipe for our 1-minute cinnamon bun. And I can assure you, it tastes even better than it looks. I'm Howard with Kelly in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a dreamier way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Now, here's a look at the 4-state market prices.
Well, summer has made a little bit of a comeback with temperatures in the upper 80s to lower 90s. And we're going to continue that right on through the weekend into early next week. Finally, we get some storms in here by next Wednesday and Friday with near or closer to normal temperatures with highs in the lower 80s and lows in the 50s. So we just have to get through this weekend. Might want to break out the swimming trunks again.
I guess so.
We definitely need that water.
Yep.
What's going on at the 5?
Well, a lot coming up at 5. For starters, during the pandemic, federal student loan payments were put on pause. Now, after a 3-year break, borrowers need to start paying those loans again, but there's a new program that can save money. Plus, Neosho's new elementary school does not have a playground, but school officials are working with the city of Neosho to make sure kids get recess. And have you heard about the Buddy Bench? Find out what it is and how one Carthage school is using it to connect students. Hope you join us for those stories, a lot more. It's coming up on KOAM News at 5.
And that's it. And thank you for joining us for KOAM News at Noon. Have a great rest of your day, 4 states.